So thank you guys. Thanks for being Tableau customers or Tableau fans or just checking Tableau out. It's always nice to come down here and get to interact with folks. So we appreciate you taking time out of your busy day to come visit here, and thanks again for hosting this. I was thinking about, I always try to find new ways to describe Tableau and new analogies to use to kind of paint the picture of Tableau. And I'm going to be a dad this year for the first time, so that's kind of been on my mind. I'm pretty excited about that. And I was talking to my mom earlier this week, and she goes, oh, I can't, she's going to be a grandma for the first time. And she's really excited about this. And she goes, I've saved all your toys. And I go, I'm not sure, if my kid's going to want, my toys, because I was one of those, moving through the phases there. I don't know if it's going to be like one of the cool things to have all the toys I used to have. And she goes, no, I saved all your Playmobiles. And I go, well, Playmobiles, those are kind of cool. And she goes, no, Playmobiles are great. Those are the most expensive toys I ever bought you, right? If you ever bought Playmobiles, they're really expensive toys. And I go, I really like the Legos. Do you have any of those? She goes, of course we have Legos. We have tons of Legos. And it really got me thinking that, Playmobiles are kind of like your traditional BI, right? They're expensive, they're fancy. Somebody always trying to force you to use them, right? You kind of want to be involved and use the nice, pretty Playmobiles, but once you set them up, they're kind of done. Right? You just kind of stare at them, you start talking to them when you're a kid. And what I liked about Legos is they have the instruction booklet, but then you just break it all down and you build something innovative. And you get that creativity to kind of unfurl and go for it. So hopefully my kid's a data geek, or at the least, a Lego geek. And anyway, so that's my opening. That's all I got for you. We appreciate when you guys interact with us, right? We've got a really robust community on the website. Please tweet us. We use, I think, over nearly 100 of the new features we have were all due to the interaction that we've had in the user forums of Tableau. So if you've got questions, please interact with us. We're looking forward to hearing from you. Today, I want to briefly just talk about the top 10 trends that we see in the industry for 2015. Right? This is going to be very agnostic to Tableau. It's really more of a BI landscape. What we've kind of predicted is coming down the pipe. Our product marketing team and leadership team looks at this throughout the year prior, and we kind of forecast what we see in the future. So that's what I wanted to share with you today. And we'll be around for questions afterwards. I'll also be around for parenting advice if you'd like to give me that. I'm looking forward to that as well. So the first thing here is governance is transformed. Okay, this is a topic that concerns many of our customers. Right? They want to know, what does governance mean in an era of self-service BI? Right? Governance is at this tipping point, and this year we believe it's going to transform into a model that democratizes data and empowers an organization to make data-driven decisions. Okay? But in order for this to happen, governance needs to evolve into a shared responsibility. Right? So both IT, who's traditionally owned and controlled this access to data, and in this new model, IT is going to trade some of that control for more visibility, quite frankly, with their end users. Okay, they'll be able to learn how people are using this data and how to better provide value to that user. The shift also means that business users have new responsibilities as well. Right? They're going to be able to understand the integrity of their data analysis, the impact of their decisions, and the consequences of sharing that data too widely. And they should look to IT for this governance. For organizations that have already taken this approach, the benefits of democratizing this data has been extremely incredible and it's outweighed the risks. And what we see that actually the best model to do this is to kind of ease into it in a phased approach, okay, where you kind of transfer off that shared responsibility into a phased approach. So the second thing we're seeing is social intelligence as a competitive advantage, right? We know social media platforms are out there. We've seen them just kind of take over the scene. But here's the interesting insight. It's probably an obvious insight. Is organizations who can track and take part in the social conversations at scale earn these critical advantages. But what are these social conversations at scale? And if you think about it, these conversations they're simply data, right? When you have large-scale conversations taking place across multiple platforms, that becomes, in fact, data. You can track sentiments or spot outliers that can be either major advantages or major problems, as we've seen with some companies. There are several advantages for tracking social data. The first is that you're going to get feedback. Brands get real-time feedback on the products in the market and the conversations around them. The brands also spot early warning signs. Right? Some markets don't take well to products. On social media, early outliers can be identified as potential issues that could grow into a larger concern. An example of this is EV Lane. EV Lane is a advertising interactive firm out of Arizona, and they actually worked with the Arizona Lottery to measure the performance of campaigns for big lottery jackpots. they correlated social media data and other marketing activities to see which of those activities drove the excitement for that target base. EV Lane was then able to target those activities to drive even larger jackpots, and that's the impact of taking some of the social media data and blending it with other databases out there. So next up, we have analytics emerge across the organization. We see analytics pop up in different pockets. You know, we have the privilege of working with so many different customers in so many different industries across the globe. And what we find is that all different departments are using some form of analysis, right? Maybe it's not all on the same standardized approach, but they want this. People want this. And the truly data-driven organizations are doing their best to embrace that kind of culture, right? They've realized that people are intelligent and curious, and they want to make informed decisions, right? But in order to do that, the data has to become accessible and presented in a way that's actionable. The good news is the barrier to get started is much lower thanks to new technology. Users can easily access data on a web browser without any downloads whatsoever, and easy-to-use tools that can then explore the data without coding or programming language needed. These business users may not even tell you that they're analyzing data in so many words. Quite often on the floor, my sales reps will say, oh, I was just looking for the next person to call. When in fact, that's analysis, right? And the more that you embrace that culture and let that come alive, the more it's going to impact the organization. Organizations that limit data to their analysts themselves forfeit this advantage, right? Leveraging the entire team's natural curiosity leads to improvements across the entire organization, and that allows your analysts to be kind of freed up and focus on higher level initiatives. Next up is communities differentiate. I kind of mentioned this earlier, but thanks to the internet, we can all be a part of so many different communities. We see that there's even 3 here kind of developing in the room. And this really feeds curiosity, right? In a complex world of analytics, communities really matter. There are different ways to do things, there are different approaches, and there are new things to learn constantly. That's why a community with a strong forum to ask and answer questions is very important, and having this place to learn from facilitates achievement across the community, much like what you're seeing here just in Orange County. You may have heard of Stack Overflow. Okay, Stack Overflow is a longtime community of developers. Their support in that shared space has led to improved hundreds, if not thousands, of products. And it's because the people can get very informed answers very quickly. People not only benefit from this resource, but they also get that opportunity to give back, adding to the group's intelligence. And we're going to see this kind of culture continue to evolve in the business intelligence space. God, I can't wait for this one to really happen more so, right? Everything just works, right? Because users' expectations have really changed around integration, right? Especially in recent years. These days, business users expect to have systems and process in line. They want to stay in the flow of their work as they're asking questions and discovering new insights about their business. They don't have patience for multiple logins or clunky integration. When it comes to analytics, users expect access to data at their fingertips. They expect to integrate and explore new data sources right away, and they expect to share these findings easily. That means these large, complicated, monolithic systems that are growing outdated, we want to be able to leverage these in a new way as well. Okay? Businesses want to leverage their existing investment, right? They want to leverage the Playmobiles that they spend so much money on, as well as the new technology, and allow that to integrate in new and old tools in the same space. So the folks that are going to be able to capitalize on that and leverage new technology to leverage past investments and future investments are the ones that are going to win. Cloud analytics is not just for cloud data anymore. We're seeing this trend consistently. You've probably noticed that in the past there's been cloud BI vendors that only work with cloud systems, or on-premise vendors that only work with on-premise systems. Okay? Most data still is on-premise, but we're starting to see people increasingly adopt and choose the cloud. People are becoming more comfortable with putting their data in the cloud, and they're also finding that cloud analytics is easy to access for both on-premise and cloud data sources. People cite several reasons for switching to the cloud. The first is the classic cloud value, right? The easy setup, low initial costs, and you can spin up cloud analytics in just a few minutes with no boxes whatsoever. It's very handy for customers with little time, right? They may have a tight deadline, maybe they're launching a new business. The cloud has this unique ability to scale on demand as well. Think about how fast data is scaling today. Cloud analytics is scaling too. Sensor data, the Internet of Things, all the data generated by devices has to go somewhere. It might go in the cloud, and it might go on premise. Wherever it is, you need to be able to analyze that data very quickly. And we're seeing customers choose the cloud for analytics in these kind of scenarios. Companies also use the cloud to reach partners and customers. Okay, the cloud typically sits outside the company's firewall, and that comes in handy when you're trying to collaborate with customers or partners and share analytics and best practices and visualizations. Getting outsiders access to an on-premise solution can be difficult. With the cloud, you can bypass the problem by collaborating outside the firewall. We're already seeing customers choose the cloud as their primary analytics source. And of course, that doesn't mean that all your data needs to sit in the cloud, because much of us will always probably have on-prem data. With cloud analytics, it's going to work with on-prem and cloud, are the ones that are in the future. Conversations replace static dashboards, right? We've all had this threaded meeting where you've spent so much time on slides, you've put together awesome snapshots of your data. And inevitably, you walk into that meeting, the first thing that people say is, oh, actually, I have another question about that. Can you drill in a little bit deeper? And that's the point where your presentation kind of falls apart, right? Because you can't answer that question on the fly. So as technology gets faster and easier to use, the way companies will run meetings in the future will fundamentally change. Interactive and intimate conversations with data are going to replace the presentations and static dashboards of old. Meetings will start with data, some initial questions, maybe a high-level summary of what's about to be presented. Then the conversation is really going to take place in a much more dynamic and collaborative approach. People will be able to ask new, ad hoc, unanticipated questions, and they'll be able to blend data on the fly with those questions in the moment. We've already seen some companies switch this model, and in doing so, they've boosted their efficiency, and their employees leave the meeting with questions answered so they're ready to act.
Let's try this out. Hey, all right. No refund this time. We got this working. All right. Number 8, data and journalism complete their merge. This one's kind of cool because I start to see this as I read my USA Today app or I look on New York Times or things like that. Data journalism has been around for a number of years, but it's becoming increasingly more prominent. And there's several reasons for this on the rise, right? Several news outlets from the New York Times, 538.com, Vox, and some other top-notch data journalism have really capitalized on this. They've let their readers dig into election results, environmental records, and census numbers, and they've made data very easy to use. And as a result, the readers feel like they have a better understanding of the issues. It's created demand for data with certain types of stories. The second area is that works the simple availability of data, right? These days, there's more data for journalists to explore, from government records to data on different organizations. They can get data in a way they weren't able to 10 or 15 years ago. Access has become faster and much easier. Lastly, there are now popular and accessible tools, including Tableau Public. It's the only Tableau thing to pitch today, Tableau Public. These tools allow everyday journalists to tackle data without the luxury of graphics departments or dedicated expert. These journalists are incorporating data into their coverage and becoming data journalists themselves. An example of this is Chad Skelton, the Vancouver Sun. The paper doesn't have a data team, but Chad took it upon himself to kind of create this one-man data movement. He gathers data on things happening around the city, like stats on the Stanley Cup riots, city's real estate, school performance. In the course of a news cycle, he's very quickly able to create visualizations that let his reader explore the numbers. And we're going to see this happen more and more. And it's going to impact not only us as consumers of news, but us as business users as well. Because if we start to see reports and news stories that have interactive visualizations, we're going to want to have that in our business too. And your colleagues at work are going to see those, and they're going to have that collaborative information as well. Mobile matures. I'm excited about this. Everybody in this room has a mobile phone. We got to see just the technology today when we're voting and collaborating that instantly. What drives mobile, right? The reason that mobile is so important is it not only allows people to connect in new ways, but it also makes us more productive. It frees us from being tethered to a desk all day, and it lets us do things when we want, where we want. Mobile computing analytics is maturing to a point where there's no longer a second-class citizen to the traditional desk-based technology. The gaps in functionality are quickly closing, and mobile is becoming a primary technology for businesses across the company, across the U.S., world, globe, everywhere. Companies are designing experiences with the mobile user first in mind, and this mobile experience is becoming more streamlined, more delightful, and more convenient. And that's especially important since you don't have desktop amenities like keyboard, mouse, or dual monitors, right? As mobile matures, we're going to see this increased demand for analytics. because mobile users want access to these mobile analytics at their fingertips wherever they want. We're going to see that start to change. We've already seen it start to change this year. Number 10, to round things out, and this one is kind of a Tableau dub thing, the smart analytics start to emerge. And I'm excited about this one. Personally, just as a business user, I don't have the complicated calculation wherewithal that a lot of my colleagues that are analysts do. But companies are having a big revelation, right? Business people are much smarter than they were once assumed to be. In the past, they didn't always have the right technology or skills to realize their full potential, but that's changing. The automation we have now is through high-powered computing was unfathomable just a decade ago. We're seeing improvements to algorithms, better access to data, better performing data, and all these things are coming together to enable a whole new realm of smart analytics. So what is smart analytics? It makes predictive analytics available to the business user without the need for scripting or extensive report consultation, expert consultation. The computer understands the business, understands the data, and understands the types of questions that might be asked about that data. Then it can empower the business users to discover insights without having to learn complex analytics. The smartest of the smart analytics will be a smart computer with a smart person right nearby. So the idea is to augment the natural human smartness and curiosity. The computer can help analyze the data, and the human can add that touch and add color. So these are the top 10 things that we've seen, and you've seen, I'm sure, in Tableau 9 that we've started to move towards this. But this is what we've identified just as the business intelligence as a whole in 2015. So again, thank you for the time here. We'll be around for questions afterwards, but thanks.